This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News, a familiar scene is piling up and students are needed once again.
One college blows off a little steam to go green.
It's another snowy start to the spring sports season. CL1 baseball team is working around the wintry weather.
And a professor shares his passion for photography and inspires students along the way. Good morning and welcome to Campus News. I'm Callum Klein.
And I'm Daniel Bartholomew.
Although March has come in like a lamb, the Fargo Moorhead area is not letting their guard down.
Flood preparations are already underway and the call has gone out for volunteers. Sandbagging for the expected flood is beginning earlier this year, and once again, the cities are turning to area students to help in the flood fighting efforts.
We've got high school kids here now, and we've had a few college people here earlier. We could use some more. They're definitely the labor force that we need in this fight against Mother Nature.
The city of Moorhead hopes to have 300,000 sandbags ready before the flood hits. Volunteers are needed 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday and noon to 7 p.m. on Sundays. Sandbag Central in Moorhead is located in the Public Works facility at 700 15th Avenue North. On the Fargo side of the river, volunteers are needed to reach the city's goal of 1 million sandbags. Sandbag Central is open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday in the Fargo Coliseum at 807 17th Avenue North.
The spring semester has brought a record number of students to North Dakota State University. The school has seen an increase of nearly 7%, bringing the total number of students to 13,411. This is the 11th straight year NDSU has broken its enrollment record. Reporter Zach Favrica shows us how the Bison community is adjusting to its recurring record-breaking habit.
North Dakota State University freshman Emily Grentz has been working at the Memorial Union's Bison Crunch for a few months now and has noticed a problem.
In this part of the union is almost always busy. It's kind of difficult to find a couch actually most of the time.
Students struggling to find study space is just one of the complications NDSU has inherited with breaking its own spring enrollment record for the 11th year in a row. The school welcomed 313 new transfer students this spring, compared to 271 a year ago, while the graduate school reached its all-time record enrollment by adding 264 more students. NDSU Student Senate Vice Chairman Kevin Black says the student government is working hard to help solve some of the complex issues that come along with high enrollment.
By no means do I think the quality of education has suffered, but it does pose some problems, and it also poses some opportunities to look in the future and say, hey, you know, where can we, what do we have to do to now serve this population?
While students might have to make some small sacrifices for now, Emily Grentz is staying optimistic.
It's really exhilarating to know that there's always something going on, and because it's growing, we're going to have even more things going on in the future, and I think that's really fun. It's really exciting.
NDSU is projected to be at about 16,000 students by 2014. This is Zach Favrica, Campus News.
Student Services at NDSU says the increased enrollment is caused by a variety of factors. Because NDSU is a land-grant institution, there is no cap for enrollment. Anyone who meets the requirement for admission cannot be turned away. And for the past decade, NDSU has been the top out-of-state pick among Minnesota's high school students when choosing where to send their ACT scores. Even though the school has grown faster than anticipated, officials say it will still be student-focused.
Faculty and staff always willing to take time to help the students. Because we are growing, but at the same time, we are still feeling, the students are feeling the smallness because the personal touch. The faculty and staff will take time to care for the students.
The number of international students at NDSU also hit a record high.
Minnesota State University has gone through many changes in its rich history, 5 name changes, 42,000 alumni, and many building expansions. In over a century, few may know more about the college than the 3 former presidents visiting last week. Former presidents John Neumeier, Roland Dill, and Roland Barden joined the current president, Edna Szymanski, to share their thoughts about the last 50 years. The panel looked back on past decisions and expansions that have created what the university is today.
I'm just like super psyched and very, very moved by being in their presence.
The presidents joined the audience after the discussion for a reception. Food and punch were served while participants had a chance to meet and greet the MSUM legends. The night concluded with a gala to raise scholarship funds. When in Rome, students will soon be able to take classes at the University of Mary. The Bismarck-based college is opening a campus in Italy's capital city this fall. U Mary Italy will offer classes in art, architecture, Italian culture, and history. University of Mary President Father James Shea says the new campus has modern amenities and old-world Italian charm. Father Shea is taking a goodwill trip this summer and inviting 40 students to accompany him. U Mary will be the only college in North Dakota to offer a sister school in another country.
Colleges across the nation are feeling the pinch of a declining economy. The national survey by the Council for Aid to Education reports that fewer alumni contributed to their alma maters last year, and those who gave less. The national survey found that 10% of alumni gave to their schools in 2009. This is the lowest percent of alumni contributions since 1969. At MSU Moorhead, the Alumni Foundation Vice President says so far their campus has been able to buck the trend.
If you look back to the year before, we brought in a little bit less last year in total dollars. But if you look back 4 years, we brought in more. So averaging it out, we really didn't see much decline.
Justison says the school's priorities right now are to raise money to help pay off the new wellness center and increase athletic scholarships.
The president of the country's largest college says it's time to revamp the decades-old tenure system. Ohio State University President Gordon Gee says the current system is outdated and doesn't give credit where credit is due. Gee says the current system emphasizes the number of publications and how much grant money professors bring in instead of their teaching. In many cases, a tenured professor is offered job security, increased salary, and the right to research freely. The chair of MSU Moorhead Mass Communications Department, Mark Strand, says, although there are perks to being a tenured professor, it doesn't make a professor invincible.
In the early 1990s, we laid off, Minnesota State Moorhead laid off a large number of people. 40-some, I believe, were tenured.
It generally takes 5 years or more to become a tenured professor. In 2009, Minnesota State University Moorhead saved $500,000 by going green.
Reporter Adam Bryn has more on what the school is doing to conserve energy.
To generate power, MSU Moorhead is using a cleaner energy, steam. This has helped the university use less gas and oil as it tries to deal with the current budget crisis. The school's chief engineer says to make the campus more energy efficient, they are keeping track of energy use.
We are working on implementing a program from Honeywell, which is an energy manager, which will keep track of our peak demand for our electrical use, and as we get close to that, it'll start to shut down less critical electrical motors so we don't hit that peak period, and in essence reducing our electrical costs.
By consuming less energy, the school can stockpile money for future programs.
If we can save money and in essence save energy and reduce what we're actually spending on our utility budget, that allows that money to either be transferred over into the next year to help support the utility budget or go back into the general fund.
The school is also improving the buildings. Motion sensors turn lights on when someone walks into a building. And they also shut off when no one is around. Another thing, the school is using timers to reduce heating costs. Schmidt says they improved the ventilation systems. So far, these improvements have made a difference both financially and environmentally. Adam Bryn, Campus News.
The school has now installed water-saving devices on shower heads and faucets in their continued efforts to save money and make MSUM a little bit greener. A proposed expansion to NDSU's research park could bring cleaner and stronger products to consumers. NDSU is expanding Research 1, a building where coatings have been developed for the U.S. government. The coatings are used to protect airplanes and ships from corroding. But the university is hoping the upcoming addition will expand the market for the lab's research. That would give homeowners a chance to use products made with the coatings. Boudjak says the addition is needed to bring the products to the public.
We have done the early development on coatings, and then now to take us across the street or over the bridge, however you want to phrase it, into the marketplace, we must have a private partner to do it.
The funds for the addition are coming from the state of North Dakota and federal grants. Boudjak expects the funds to be available this spring.
A battle against disease halfway around the world is raising economic hopes back home. 10 Concordia College students will conduct research in Bangladesh this summer. They will study diseases and nutrition levels in the poor areas of the country. Their research will aid assistant biology professor Jennifer Bath to possibly develop a new vaccine through the Global Vaccine Institute located on campus. The Greater Fargo-Moorhead Economic Development Corporation granted $10,000 for the student research. The president of the development group says this vaccine initiative has caught the attention of businesses nationally, which is the first step to creating more jobs in the area. Thinking about taking a test can give just about anyone a headache.
But as reporter Kimberly Cresson tells us, for some, it is even a bigger challenge.
College can be extremely stressful, with loads of homework, studying, and exams. For students with learning disabilities, these tasks can be even more difficult. MSU Moorhead students who need extra help can visit Greg Tauges, the Director of Career and Disability Services on campus.
We'll do anything they can to assist a student as long as the student does their share, which is go to class and do their work.
Some of the services that around 150 students at MSUM receive include extended testing time, testing in a quieter environment, or having their tests read to them.
Everything that I need, I'm being provided, so I'm very happy with the services.
Jason Careview, a junior majoring in criminal justice, says he is thankful for the disability services offered.
I don't take them for granted one bit. They help me out immensely.
Tauges says that unlike the services provided in K through 12, the services offered in higher education do not guarantee success, only access.
We don't modify in college. We accommodate.
Whether it be extra testing time or receiving additional notes, MSUM is making efforts to help their students succeed. With photographer Janessa McAllister, this is Kimberly Cresson, Campus News.
Disability services are provided at no extra cost to the students who need them. Concordia College's Science Department is expanding and gaining a stronger connection with Iowa State University. Concordia received a $150,000 grant from the National Science Foundation to develop labs on campus. Some of the grant was used to purchase equipment created by Iowa State University chemistry professor Dr. R.S. Hoke. In return, Dr. Hoke visited Concordia to lecture and demonstrate his machine. The upgraded labs will help students become more comfortable with modern science technology. Getting their hard work up on the big screen is a tough goal for many film students.
Reporter Tara Kramer shows us how one visiting artist is giving MSU Moorhead students a leg up on the competition.
Skiz Cizik is a filmmaker who has spent a good part of his career working at film festivals and sharing his love of films.
It's a way to combine a lot of different loves. I love storytelling, I love music, I love visual art, I love technology, and I can combine all those things into one project.
Cizik came to MSUM's campus to hold a workshop and share his experiences with students.
I heard there was like an actual filmmaker who would talk about not only just filmmaking, but also being in film festivals. I was especially very interested in seeing what he had to say and learning from his experience.
At the workshop, Cizik shared with students a step-by-step plan to get their films into a festival and gave advice on how to stand out.
Embrace your originality. Don't try to make films that you've seen other people make already, because we already have those films. Make something new.
Cizik says all students should go out and get what they want and not sit around and wait for it. Tara Kramer, Campus News.
Cizik is currently in Maryland working on 2 documentaries. And now we hand it over to Andrew Tickey with sports.
Thanks, guys. We may not believe it when you look out the window, but the college baseball season is underway. But with the blanket of snow still covering the ground, teams in the north are hitting the artificial turf. Reporter Blair Olson shows us how one team is getting by inside.
As the winter months pass by, this area covered with a blanket of snow will soon become the MSUM baseball field.
The ball blends right into the walls.
But as for now, the baseball team is practicing at the Metro Recreational Center in Fargo.
Basically, we have a 60-foot by 60-foot space, which isn't even the full size of a baseball field infield. We're really limited trying to do anything with outfielders, even just playing catch.
With having to rent out the rec center for $50 an hour.
Yeah, what do we got here? Fastball, got it.
Finances
Missed the sign.
are a huge factor for the team.
Holy shnikes.
We have what we call spaghetti dinner, and we make $5,000 a year usually on that at least.
A huge part of the boys' season,
Where are your manners?
and nearly half their games takes place in Florida.
You're in trouble. You need ground, man. A lot of guys kind of describe going to Florida as like our season because, you know, like times like last year, we don't get much games up here. And Florida is really fun. You meet a bunch of other teams from around the country, other big schools show up, and that's really where we, you know, become a team.
1 minute! With team fundraising and little help from the school being the only income for money, taking the team to the varsity level seems to be a problem.
We obviously want it to be a varsity program, and while we're here, we treat it like one. You know, we practice a lot, we work hard, and we take everything pretty seriously. So
I'm fairly positive we have a lot more depth pitching that we've had in the past. That really is in the short season that we have, trying to play 30 games over basically a month's time.
I hate catching in there. I can't see anything.
After returning from Florida, the team heads to Bismarck State for their first game in the Midwest. With photographer Cole Rigg.
Just 20, right? Yeah, just 20.
Blair Olson, Campus News Sports.
Right? We planned that for weeks.
The Dragons will spend their spring break in Florida playing some of the top programs in the country, including Iowa, Indiana, and 7th-ranked Clemson. The ball club will have to wait until April 8th to play a true home game. 3 weeks ago, they left for Vancouver in search of gold. This week, 4 former and future UND hockey players returned to the state's Olympic heroes. On the men's side, 2 former Fighting Sioux squared off in the gold medal game. Jonathan Taves, a UND forward from 2005 to 2007, netted the game's first goal for Canada midway through the first period. Then later, with the final seconds running off the clock, former forward Zach Parise found the back of the net to even the Americans at 2. After Canadian Sidney Crosby scored an overtime goal, Taves took home a gold while Parise left with a silver. On the women's side, it was all about twins Jocelyn and Monique Lamoureux. The duo, who are transferring to UND from Minnesota this fall, combined for 14 points in the tournament, including 6 goals. However, the U.S. couldn't get past Canada on the women's side either, losing in the championship game to earn silver. Well, she may only be a junior, but NDSU trackster Whitney Carlson is already making a huge name for herself on campus. As Carlson keeps going, records keep falling. Reporter Tim Free fills us in on her success.
NDSU junior Whitney Carlson describes herself as a perfectionist. She says that trait is the reason she always strives to do better.
Every time I run a race or every time I jump, it's always like, okay, just a little bit farther, just a little bit faster.
Improving on her stats will be a challenge, considering Carlson already holds 5 individual school records. She has the records for the 60, 100, and 400-meter hurdles, along with the long jump and 100-meter dash. Even though her name is in the record books, she isn't taking all the credit.
Coaching and teammates, for sure. The coaching staff here, I've said it before, they're just awesome.
Carlson's coach Stevie Keller says some of her success is a result of her easygoing approach.
She's obviously a very talented athlete, and she just has a great work ethic, you know, always wants to do better. You know, always kind of brings like a relaxed attitude towards competition and practice.
With all of her success, Carlson says she sometimes has fun joking around with the guys when she beats them.
Every once in a while, a guy will get out of the long jump pit and he's like, oh, Whitney beat me. But no battle between the sexes.
Going into the rest of her track career, Carlson only expects bigger and better things out of herself. With photographer CJ Pierre, Tim Free, Campus News Sports.
Congratulations are in order for Carlson and the Bison. Carlson picked up her 2nd straight league championship MVP award over the weekend, and in all, both the Bison men and women claimed their 3rd straight Summit League indoor title. And while we're on the topic of NDSU, it should be noted that Pat Paschal, the former running back at NDSU, worked out in last week's NFL Combine. Now he and the rest of us will have to wait to see where he lands in April's NFL Draft.
Best of luck to him.
Yep.
Thanks, Andrew. An MSU Moorhead professor is honored for his career as a photographer. Reporter Leslie Johnson shows us the impact he has had on the community and in the lives of his students.
Wayne Goodmanson's photography has not only inspired his students, but led him places he never knew he would go.
Faroe Islands, England, Ireland, Norway, North Dakota, Minnesota, Manitoba.
On this night, people came together at the Plains Art Museum to celebrate the premiere of a documentary featuring his photography.
For me, it's a very sort of humbling experience to be kind of the center of interest. It's not my personality. at all.
Although Goodmanson shies away from the spotlight, he has known what he's wanted to do for quite some time.
I was in the Navy and bought my first camera in whenever that was, 1969, and became very interested in photography. And I took a photo workshop right away when I got out, and it really kind of turned my head around, and I got very excited, and since then I've been pointed in one direction.
Wayne's love for photography has not only led him all over the world, but brought him to MSU Moorhead, where he has taught and inspired students for over 20 years. Goodmanson reads a poem before starting each class.
It's an old box camera, a Brownie, the color and shape of the battery out of a car, but smaller.
He's just willing to do anything for his students. And I've always thought, you know, I feel like I need to do something for him when I'm done here.
Teaching assistant Chris Franz has worked with Goodmanson for years now and admires the way he teaches.
He knows where you're at, and no matter what, you know, you're going to learn something. And that's something that he's actually said, that even he doesn't know everything about photography. And he's very, you know, upfront about that. That doesn't matter how good you are, you can still learn and you can still get better.
So whether it's teaching in a classroom, taking a photo in a faraway place, or celebrating a documentary with friends and family, Wayne Goodmanson is right where he wants to be. With photographer Kit Cross, Leslie Johnson, Campus News.
Goodmanson's photography has appeared in 9 books and is now on display at the Plains Art Museum. His documentary will air on PBS through the end of March.
North Dakota State University is finding new ways to get their students out and about in this cold winter weather. The Bison Blizzard Bash is co-sponsored by NDSU Campus Attraction and the Residence Hall Association. It is an annual event that allows students to break out of their shells and enjoy this time of year. Event coordinator Jennifer Katke says it's nice for students to have something fun and free to do in their downtime.
Main part of why it's here is to get students outside in the winter. Like, it's the dull winter, no one wants to be outside, it's cold. And so we try to get students out of the dorms, get more involved on campus.
One of the events was a carriage ride that brought students around campus. There's a competition at NDSU that shows off not only talent, but cultural diversity as well.
Laura Lee Lofsgar tells us more about how these different performances came together on one stage.
Dance en Masse is a dance competition with students from NDSU, MSUM, and Concordia. Suraj Madhapadan from the Association of Students from India put this dance-off together for its 5th year and tells us that the name of the show derives from Greek, meaning bringing the whole world together on a dance stage.
There was no events which brings the 3 universities together, no cultural events. And that's the reason why they started this, and actually it's working all these years.
One of the soloists, Alison Slavic, noticed the competition through email and decided to show off her skills.
It said, so do you think you can dance? And that just kind of intrigued me, so I thought I'd check it out. And it said that the styles and forms of dance were unrestricted, so I figured I'd give it a try.
Allison started hooping only last spring and said that with the help of her high school dance team experience, she caught on very quickly.
It's a lot of fun. Once you get the hang of it, it's you know, it's like fun and exercise at the same time. So, and you can do it to any kind of music pretty much.
This was only one of the many different types of dances in this show, which really did bring a diverse selection to the stage. With photographer Alex Whittier, Laura Lee Lofsgaard, Campus News.
The different groups competed for cash prizes, which were selected from the 5 different teams and 3 solo performances. Kappa Delta members plan to serve up a large helping to raise money. The North Dakota State University sorority plans to sponsor a spaghetti feed on Monday, March 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. The event will be held at the University Lutheran Center in Fargo. Kappa Delta is also hosting a spaghetti eating contest that includes prizes. 80% of the proceeds will be donated to the Red River Children's Advocacy Program. Any additional proceeds will go to the Prevent Child Abuse America program. 3 young violinists with ties to MSU Moorhead had the chance to not only meet but also perform for a superstar.
Classical musician Midori recently held a master class at MSUM. Lars Hagelin tells us more.
Midori began her professional career as a violinist when she was only 11 years old. During the past 3 decades, she has been performing with the world's leading orchestras, headlining her own shows, and receiving critical acclaim for her recordings. And today, 3 aspiring violinists had a chance to play for Midori.
It was really nerve-wracking, for one thing. Like, before, I was nauseated and really nervous, but it was a great experience to just get up on stage, and it got easier as I went along, too.
Midori came to the Fargo-Moorhead area as part of an outreach program. She chooses only 2 locations each year throughout the country, and this year, MSUM had the opportunity to host her in a masterclass.
Well, what I found most interesting is when she picked up her instrument to play, the variety in her playing and just how much she could make out of what would seem like the simplest phrase, but yet it would have so much interest to it, to the listener, and so much beauty in it, and she can just seems to find that and bring it out in any piece.
Students in the masterclass performed a piece of their choosing. Midori would then critique their work and give them advice on how they could improve.
Don't make it just into a technical thing, but no, keep it singing.
As for Sam Schoenwald, it's an experience he's likely never to forget.
Well, it's kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, you got someone at that caliber working with you.
With photographer Taryn Hake, this is Lars Hegland, Campus News.
While in the area, Midori also played with the Fargo-Moorhead Symphony Orchestra. That's it for this edition of Campus News.
We leave you with shots of volunteers getting their hands dirty at Sandbig Central in Moorhead.
Have a great week, everyone.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the Department of Mass Communications at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.